YouTube, what's up? We're going to look at some interesting and new castings. Came across these rather quickly since they've been only out for about a week or two, and you can usually see online retailers get them first, and then you'll say, well, some of the retail stores might pick them up, but really, really cool stuff from Greenlight. And we're starting to see some new production from the new management, so we'll take a look at the quality. But first, let's get some cool ones out of the way, kind of normal stuff. This one I found and I thought it was great. There's going to be two colors of this. This is a Johnny Lightning Gold. Version B, Release 3. And this is a 2022 Release 3 that I saw on the pegs. Right there. So, FJ Cruiser, that's pretty hot. But I really liked, believe it or not, the Citation. And that's an older casting, but they updated the look a little bit. The X11, they put the 6-cylinder in this car, front wheel drive. Let's take a look. Awesome car. Very rarely done. Johnny Lightning's the only one that has this car in production right now. I think that the Chevette that's similar to this, but not the same, because I believe these are front wheel drive. Chevette car was a mid-70s design with rear wheel drive. This car is front. I think it's the J car platform, if I'm not mistaken. The only thing that's kind of off a little bit about this, it has the narrow headlight where it would have been a full square headlight on the actual car. And being Johnny Lightning, it's not true 1/64 scale. This is probably a larger scale than 1/64. When we see cars of this size in 1/64, they're very tiny. So this is about the size of a short bed Silverado right now. Great detailing. Of course, their modern production standards with the Tampa work is great. You could see the Citation call out right there in the front. X11 badge. And these wheels actually look very similar to the production one, even though it's the wheels that they recycle with most of their mid to late model cars, like the F-bodies you've been seeing these on. Good trim detail on the windows. Let's see if we can get this open. And there it is, all black. Would have been some silver in there, but you got our shock tower display and our core support that has a separate valley there. So that's a nice detail. Rolls good too. Tires a little bit big, rubs slightly. Not bad. It's got the rear window louver. Taillight treatment's pretty good. Still, again, a little narrow. Could have been a little bit more blocky. But overall, awesome. Hopefully I found a secondary color. I don't remember if it was white or not, but I think it was something like that. Okay, another cool one. We looked at the black car. Now we're going to look at the one I kind of wanted, the version A, Release 2 of 2023. Auto World, Starion in Palermo Gray Poly. And we're going to open it up, show you the new folks how I open these cars. So we looked at the minivan and caught that. Hopefully I get it. I think this is the one with the silver minivan. Take a sharp blade halfway down. Leave the top to make a hinge flap. That way we can keep this here. If we need to put the car back in, it can go. Come around the bend a little bit so it doesn't rip the card. There we go. And then she just flips open. So, great casting. I wanted to see this color because I thought it showed off the Mitsubishi emblems better than the black one does, and it seems to come through pretty well. Awesome 80s car. I think they had 6s or 4s. Remember, I did the research on this earlier. But this was 80s, pretty much everybody had a two-door sports car, no matter who or what brand you looked up. Two doors were so popular. Rear-wheel drive car. Yeah, that's the 4. I believe they're turbos. Or you could get a turbo. Hopefully the 5 or 6 speed. No, 5 speed. No 6 speeds yet. There's our 4 detail. Of course, this was also produced as the Chrysler Conquest. So Mitsubishi had pretty much a full line of vehicles. You know, from trucks, minivans, SUVs, four-door sedans. Pretty much everything you could get at the Mitsubishi store in the 80s. Great looking casting. Still really fresh. Tooling is keeping up very well. Of course, this would probably be... We'll have to probably get a Conquest out and just see if there's any slight grill changes. I really didn't put the two next to each other. Could probably do that next release. So, awesome car. Great wheels. Looking forward to the Celica Supra coming out soon. We should be probably seeing that hitting the pegs anytime, I'd say, just because they've been for sale online for a while. So I'm resisting that. I'm sure we'll see them eventually. If anybody's found them yet on the pegs, just make a comment below. Another cool vehicle that I found for the collection is the silver 442. And I got my old Cutlass out. And actually, this was one of the earlier castings that Autoworld did. You know, back to their box days a few years ago. They released a ton of these. And then now they're starting to release them again. So this is the one I have currently. I don't have a lot of the back order ones. And then this is the current one. Awesome looking with the Magnum wheels. The rallies, and then beautiful only opening hood, and they actually put the 442 package air cleaner on the car with the 2 snorkel, and this one just a regular. So they sometimes will go under a hood and really differentiate. They take their time. Of course, I haven't removed the tampo work on the wheel cover there. You can see it's way off, but it's nice to compare. So black vinyl roof and the lighter colored interior. Red lines. Awesome looking red lines. You can see also on the quarter detail the difference. I believe this is a Cutlass with a package, and this is actually a true 442 car. Taillight detail is amazing. You know, really good. All painted details instead of being lensed. But at this scale, if you can tampo it correctly, it'll look good. Wonderful tunnel back window. So just beautiful detail. There's the Olds emblem on the trunk, and then we have some detail up front. You can see they did the bumper detail a little bit different on the Cutlass, the F85. That's the package on this one. So pretty neat. Great looking car. You know, those were considered mid-size because you could do a 98, you know, Oldsmobile. So yeah, in 66, General Motors cars are pretty big. All right, let's continue. New casting for Autoworld. I snagged it. It was on the peg. So these are hitting Midwest anyway right now. Nissan, the new Z. So Nissan, they don't have an unlimited budget right now, so this car, while being technically kind of all new, they used some of the engineering from the previous generation Z that went back to the early 2000s. Newer engine, transmission, things like that, but some of the structure is similar. I mean, not completely the same, but they really improved on the car. We'll take a look at this one. There was an issue with the wheels, so we'll probably pop them off of the axles later on and get that straightened out. Sometimes when they cast these chassis pans, the holes that go through for the axles, they're not completely square to each other, so the car sometimes will pull to the left or right, and that's because there's flashing in there when they drill that out. They're even, the bosses are even and all that. It's just when the hole gets through And no matter how they do it, I don't know if it's just based on the casting or if they actually clean it up after the fact. But a lot of times it'll be a little bit off. So when I do pop the axles off, we'll probably just go through it with a jeweler file and get that flashing that's making the car roll a little funny taken care of. Separate spoiler. So typically Auto World will dedicate one or two separate pieces in plastic for extra detail, one being the engine for sure. But a lot of the cars come with spoilers or different details on the vehicle, and so they'll opt to do plastic. On the square bodies, for instance, they mold the rear bumper separately, so that's where they spend money on the tooling there. Good looking car. It's pretty quick for being a 6-cylinder. It's normally aspirated. It's got good horsepower and handling. They've done a lot of track testing and comparisons on all the automotive journalist sites, and the car does pretty well. Haven't driven one yet, but I'm sure we'll find one eventually to drive in real life. I'm sure it's very similar to the outgoing one. Anyway, all right. Another exciting casting that we're going to look at right now. So I found the standalone orange 74 Dodge short bed. They're calling this a 200, even though it's a short bed, and again, really, I'm not aware of any 3/4 ton short bed trucks ever for sale. I mean, unless they're custom. It'd be nice for the M2 and Auto World to do a long bed. Greenlight does it. Greenlight does the short and long beds, but not the other two. But this is a great casting, nice and clean. I did a adjustment to the axles. I didn't paint them black, so you could see kind of what the gist of it is. I take the tubing, the scale tubing that's plastic, and we go ahead and just shim the wheels so they have a more correct back spacing. Beautiful vehicle. Fantastic early Dodge grille, and it looks really good in chrome. The other Dodges that we looked at, they were painted silver. And of course we have the solid axle front and rear suspension, which looks amazing. So really the issue with this is they have to use the shallow beds as a standard bed for the trucks that are slammed. So that's the only thing. Otherwise, awesome work. I haven't taken the taillights off. I feel like I need to sand out a little bit to get them to sit more correct. But they are separate pieces, and again, at this scale, it's hard to make a lot of these and make it all line up, but they do a pretty good job. The bumpers look really good on this vehicle. We've looked at the engine before. It's very tight the way the hinge is, so we'll just leave it shut. Also, this hood has the depression on it where the later 70s trucks I have the flat hood. We'll take out the Power Wagon real quick. And it has the later style. So it's nice that M2 tools the two different grills. Pretty good stuff. Alright, so now we looked at that beauty. Hopefully it had a at least a 360 in there. Hopefully maybe a bigger engine like a 400 or 440. That'd be pretty good. I mean, if it was a 3/4 ton, getting that's pretty common. On to Greenlight. So all-terrain series 15 is probably going to go down in history as one of the better releases. It has the OBS Ford 4-wheel drive pickup, which I missed, two-tone white with blue. And then the 46 Power Wagon is coming to normal releases. It's been out kind of as a hobby exclusive for a while, but now they're going to release it, at a normal price point. So I found that too, but I think the Star will be the next vehicle. But let's look at the Power Wagon first. Again, I alluded to the fact that we're going to be seeing a little bit of subtle changes and some major changes to Greenlight's production. They're pledging quality. It's bearing itself out. I haven't seen a lot of cloudy windows, but I've also seen an attempt to get the stance right on the vehicle, and they're tooled completely new tires for this vehicle, and they committed to putting mirrors on this. So we're going to do a wide shot first, and then we'll get a little bit more detail. This has the chrome rims right now on it. You know, I don't know. I think I'm gonna paint those gloss black. Look at the casting here. We're gonna zoom in. Dodge is casted and embossed on the tailgate. They got the tail lights. Those are cast too in metal, so those won't break off. So they do 3 pieces: the bed, the cab, and then the chassis. All metal. The front bumper is plastic, so they can change what, you know, if they have an apparatus on the front or something, it'll just be a piece of plastic that they can change instead of molding the bumper as part of the metal chassis. We can see the detail. We got the mirrors here, and they're pretty sturdy. You got to be careful, though. I would probably put this in my pocket. They'll snap, but for the rest of the time, they can handle a little bit of a movement. You can see that the you know, those military style tires, they look really good. I think these might be looked at also, you know, if I could buy a few cheaply, hopefully. Great for wheel swaps. I can see these being on Wranglers and stuff as rims. You know, they look really cool. So keep that in mind. The long bed, they actually produced this style of Dodge for a long time. But this is a 46, so really the first year for the civilian release. Early in 46, Dodge released these and touted basically, I mean, you could get the Jeep 4-wheel drive, but as a working truck like this pickup, production factory 4-wheel drive, not having to use a third-party aftermarket provider for your 4-wheel drive system. So we had the axles, and they actually advertised these as 1-tons, where in the military they were classified as 3/4-ton vehicles based off the WC trucks. A few different improvements, but you know, I was reading up about how long, you know, they went into the 50s and later with the same body, even though Dodge pickups on the other side, the more civilian based ones, you know, they were changing more and more. But this was a mainstay in the catalog just because of its ruggedness, and you know, all the engineering costs have been bored out years ago, so it was just probably a pure profit truck. Flathead 6-cylinder, 2-speed transfer case, stick shift with a 4 speed, which is actually really good. And they had ability to have power takeoff going to the front or rear of the vehicle. So it was used probably on ranches and farms, but it also in commercial use, and a lot of times you'd see these vehicles serving, you know, in police and fire department especially. It made a great platform for a brush vehicle and remote fire. Of course, the U.S. Forest Service, another famous use of this vehicle. So just incredible. It rolls good. I'm going to do a little tweaking. It has a little bit of a wobble, but nothing crazy. I haven't touched this vehicle outside of getting out of the package, and you can see that there's really no flashing on the rubber tires, which is very, very common with the older releases in Greenlight. You know, the first few years, '08 and on, very, very high quality. Loosened up for a while. I think it's going to get tightened up again, so that's really good. I think as you buy more of the Greenlights into 2024, we'll probably hopefully see some good improvements. But this is an amazing casting. It's completely different than what other vehicles are constructed like in the Greenlight catalog so far. The only other cars that are kind of separate with their casting detail are some of the European, the Ford Escort and the VW Rabbit cars. You know, their wheels and tires and things really look different as well. So awesome looking truck. Very, very nicely done. Now, let's go on to this one. This is the one that, you know, I'm sure most of you are keeping your eye on. The first release for this, many more to come. This will be debuted as a 90 Chevrolet Suburban. They were still doing square body on Suburban up until about 92, 93 time frame when the OBS style came out. But for the 3/4-ton trucks and the Suburban and K5 Blazers and GMC Jimmy equivalent and GMC Suburban equivalent, they were still square body. So the OBS trucks for half tons, 88 debut, but they took some time on these vehicles to get those tooled up because they had some unique things to them. It wasn't just a front clip, right? We had to, you know, retool everything back. So it took a little bit more time, but a classic vehicle. And this one also includes brand new wheels, completely brand new casting wheel. Hopefully they put this wheel on the, going forward on the K5 Blazers, because they also shared it. But you can see the center cap is really long, and there's no flashing inside the rim. So on the wheels, you can see right through it. Another thing is, even though these are the old style tires, there was very little inconsistency, and we can really look at it when we look at how it seats on the rim. When you look on the inside lip, you usually see the worst of it, and very thin, or very good tolerance. There is some cupping like usual if you look at the tire there, but that's easy. If we had to dismount them and then sand them, we can get that ridge off there. Not a problem. But they're seated well on the axle, and you can see that the truck drives straight. It doesn't go like this. A lot of trucks, if they have the thing, you'll see them just wobble. So very happy about this. This is supposed to be a four-wheel drive 2500, so a 3/4 ton, which was actually popular. We look in the standard General Motors catalog for 1990. They had some really cool options. 350 was standard, and in 1990 we had fuel injection, so it was throttle body fuel injection. It wasn't multi-port yet. And we had on the half tons a 4-speed automatic, but on the 3/4 ton, when you do a 7.4 or a 350 engine, so the bigger motor as well, you could get a stick shift. Actually, and it was called out as standard equipment, a 4-speed on the 3/4 ton. So how cool would that be? I don't think I ever recall seeing a Suburban with a stick, at least in the later OBS style. But if anybody knows of what, I want to see it. I haven't Googled that just to see what the interior looks like, but that would be amazing. These hold their value very well. Very popular. And then when we zoom in, we can see that the correct differentiation between the black and red, we have the orange stripe. So we would have that pinstripe there. So this, just like most of the other square bodies with Greenlight, it's a little small. It might be correct. I haven't really had measured the vehicle, depending on if Greenlight's philosophy of being a little bit smaller than Autoworld and M2 is correct, or if M2 or Autoworld were more on point with their measurements. We look at this square body, similar, right? 4-door. And we have known this, or if we've talked about on the channel, always larger, no matter what it is, Dodge, Chevy, or Ford, always larger than the Autoworld. And I think Autoworld's kind of between these two in size, and then these would be the smallest. I've compared this with the K5 Blazers too, and they make a great pairing. So just very nostalgic. I can't wait to get all the Suburbans. Let's take a look at the back. We can see that fuel injection call out there. They'd also say ABS and things like that. This has the regular tailgate, not the barn door. Barn door trucks are really cool, but they typically seem to be more prevalent on the heavier duty versions. Window would have went down. And if you got the bench seat in the front seat, you can go up to 9 people in these vehicles. This one has the third row deployed. But I believe it's a bucket seat front end. I haven't really been able to see in there very well. This also wasn't glued on mine, and I actually prefer it with it off, so we'll take it off. I've actually been leaving with it off so I don't lose that piece, and then we can get a look at the 1990 grille with the quad headlight arrangement. It looks very cool. And then here's the chassis. So nice chassis, very thick Greenlight style casting though, so that's very characteristic, but it rolls really well. I'm trying to decide, since these are kind of like 35-inch tires, whereas the normal 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive would have that narrow tall tire on there. I'm probably going to dismount these from the axles and just push them out slightly, even though on a standard Suburban 4-wheel drive the wheels are tucked under the fenders. So they were trying to go for that quote-unquote stock look, which they did. It's just that these tires are too thick to really pull that look off. So to make it probably look more accurate, we're going to push them out slightly and get that handled. But I'm very pleased with this, and I'm happy that I found it. Probably going to be very difficult to find. The only other truck in that set, what should be on the recent release of dually drivers, is the Dodge regular cab dually. So I think that's the first regular cab dually that has been produced. Most trucks have the crew cab going on, whether it's the late model trucks or the the older stuff like this, for instance. So hopefully they do the regular cab dually soon. It's very simple, probably for M2 to do that. They already have the pieces. The only thing missing is tooling up a new chassis plate. But other than that, they have the other body and bed ready. So hopefully they could do it. I'll probably, if I find a few more of these, make my own. But I gotta wait. But look at these square bodies. We are doing really well going into 2024. A little short update here, but I had to get this out. Just an awesome truck. Hopefully we see more of these very quickly. I know that there's a Smokey the Bear series coming out in orange, so probably pick that up as well. Hope everybody's enjoyed the show. More to come. More to come. We got cars coming down, and of course everybody knows that the holidays are approaching, so maybe there's some more surprise cars coming after Santa visits us. Hope everybody's been doing well. Happy collecting. Till next time.